we're the little engine that could. I think we were never interested in having this huge team per se. We're more about quality than quantity, and then it's the same with our deal flow because our margins here are a lot larger. Our price points are a lot larger. So we have no interest in doing like 50 to 100 deals a year. I literally have no interest in doing that. Like 25 to 30 is way enough for me.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Real Estate Podcast. Today, we got some very special guests. We got Kamohai and Tristyn. They're with TK Property Solutions out of Hawaii on the island of Oahu, and they do a lot. They're a husband and wife team. That's right, correct?
Yep.
Correct.
Yep.
Husband and wife team. They're very active in flipping properties, and they take this money and they invest it into passive real estate investments. They've done a lot, and they're local in the Hawaii area. So it's going to be a great podcast today, and I'm very interested to learn your story. So if you guys don't mind, I guess just kind of, do each of y'all mind telling me a little bit about who you are and how you grew up, and just a little bit about your background?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. So I'll go first. So my family has been in Hawaii for generations. Like we can trace our genealogy back 64 generations. And so I am Native Hawaiian. My dad actually had 11 brothers and sisters, and they grew up in Kailua, very poor, in a 900 square foot, 1-bedroom house. And so it's crazy because my dad worked his whole life to be able to provide for us kids what he never had, right? And this is kind of where my beginnings of real estate actually started. He worked his way up in the bank from a teller all the way to the executive senior vice president. And he was very successful doing that. And he kind of he always taught us a very traditional kind of upbringing, right? Like the way that he did it was he went to school, he got a job, he worked, and that's what he was telling us to do. We had to get educated and go to school. But during that process, okay, so my dad is now pretty successful, and he's surrounding himself with other very successful business people. And he used to have us go out to these dinners, right, where we're sitting around tables with all these successful people from Oahu. And I was an inquisitive little kid, super curious, and I would ask these guys like what they do. And one common thing that they all had in common was that they were all directly or indirectly involved in real estate. And I think that I caught on to that pretty early, but it was hidden in the back of my brain, right? And so I had a pretty good upbringing. I went to school. I ended up always been kind of entrepreneurial, so I started some retail stores with my brother, and that was like my first phase of life. We had 3 retail locations. We were in business for 15 years. But it was more of a passion thing than it was we were super successful and making all this money. So I remember I met my wife, and she looked at me one day when we were just about to have kids, and she's like, "Hey, you gotta like pull it together. You got to take care of a family now. The stores aren't going to cut it." And I shut the stores down. She'll tell you the part where she dragged me into this real estate conference, the first one that we ever went to. And then we went full into real estate kind of stories.
Yeah.
Yeah. All over from there.
What type of stores were they?
So they were clothing stores. Yeah. So we were always into like action sports growing up. I was the kid that would silk screen t-shirts and give it to all of my friends in the neighborhood and sell them at school. And so we made everything you can think of: t-shirts, hats, jackets, made in Hawaii aloha shirts, chinos, beanies. We did everything. But we were a surf inspired men's contemporary wear.
Very
I love
cool.
that.
Yeah.
It was a super cool shop.
Yeah.
If it made money, it would still be around.
I no, but you know what? What's crazy is I think I look back now and I'm like, oh my gosh, I know so much more about how a business is actually supposed to be run.
Yeah.
And that could potentially blow up. It's something now where I'm like, okay, now I've made some money. I understand how business works. I want to revisit it potentially as a passion project in the future. And I see that for sure happening.
I'm down. I'm down with that, babe.
Yeah.
What was the name of the stores or the brand?
So, yep, it was called Aloha Beach Club.
Aloha Beach Club. Very cool, man. Well,
yeah.
If it makes sense in the future, you got to get back to it.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely.
I agree. So, I am born and raised here. I'm also from Kailua, and I grew up with entrepreneurs as parents. And my dad did all kind of things, and I think I get my entrepreneur spark and spunk from him. He's done sales to real estate agent to owning his own business. And my mom, she was a counselor for a lot of her adult life. And then my dad morphed into being a counselor as well. So I had counselors as parents. And so I naturally just gravitated in that direction. I went to school to become a psychologist. I got my degree in counseling psychology, and I went right into the behavioral health nonprofit sector. And so I did that for a long time before we got into real estate. But growing up, I mean, my dad was a real estate agent. I saw my grandparents, my dad's parents have some property, but they always did it traditionally. And I saw how much it helped our family. You know, my grandfather's ability to help my dad purchase their first fixer-upper. You know, my childhood home was a fixer-upper. And so I just knew that there was something there. And I grew up watching HGTV, and I've always loved pretty things. They make me feel alive inside. And so when we got married, and when we started having children, I was like, I owned and operated a nonprofit where we did substance abuse treatment counseling and benefits management counseling. And I was like, I need more to be able to provide the life for my children that I want. And I think that it's in real estate. And I was sitting on the couch at home at our rental, and I was like, I saw this commercial come on that said, you know, flip houses with none of your own money. And I just looked at him and I was like, we're going, you do not have a choice. And we have to figure out what this real estate thing is. And so from then it was kind of history. We just went all into real estate. I juggled the nonprofit and real estate for, I don't know, like 3 years.
Yeah, you were 3 years.
And can we talk about the nonprofit for a minute?
Yeah, definitely.
So
I'm on the board of that.
why substance abuse?
Why substance abuse? Because my first job was at a substance abuse treatment center where my mom was the operations director. And my first job out of college. And I grew up with substance abuse. So it was something that I don't want to say I was a victim of, but I experienced in my childhood, and it was around me. And so I was passionate about helping people and their families that were going through it. I feel like substance abuse is a very global problem, and almost anybody has been affected by it or knows somebody that was affected by it in some way, shape, or form.
Super prevalent in Hawaii as well. Like we have a big issue here in Hawaii. So
I mean, I was just, from the time my whole life, but the time I was an adult and going to college, I just was natural to me. And so we just went into it. And then my best friend and I from college, I met her in college and we just hit it off. We had the opportunity to take over a nonprofit, and I was already in the substance abuse field and she was also. And so we just decided to take it over, and we applied for grants, and we created our own nonprofit that had a whole substance abuse outpatient program. And then we were also doing benefits management. So like people that have social security benefits or VA benefits, and they're found unfit to manage it for whatever that reason may be. If it's substance abuse, it's mental health issues, chronic homelessness, whatever it is, we manage their benefits on their behalf and make sure that their rent is paid, their medical bills are paid, they get food, shelter, clothing, etc.
I got
So,
it.
yeah,
No. And
yeah,
then
That's
they give them a weekly allowance
right,
as well. So like one of the issues is people that they just don't, they're not fit to take care of their own money. Oftentimes what happens is the government will give them a check and it's all spent on the first day.
Yeah.
And it's spent on stuff that's not necessary, right?
Right.
So her nonprofit literally prevents that from happening. They're the trusted entity
right.
that the government
Yeah.
feels can manage these benefits. And I think, what do you guys have, like 500 clients now?
Yeah, right around 500. And so that's my passion. That'll always be my passion. That's never going anywhere. I was a CEO. Now I'm just the board on the board, president of the board. But I'm in a place in my life where I'm really interested in morphing my two passions, which is real estate and the nonprofit, together to provide more housing, because a lot of impact can be created if those two forces can combine. So yeah,
Yeah.
that was my life before, and it's still very much a part of my life now. But before real estate, I was juggling both for 3 years, and I told my business partner, I was like, "Yo, you got to become the CEO, upgrade me to the board, and I need you to run the day to day, because I really got to give this real estate thing my all, because I know that this can help elevate the nonprofit." So yeah.
Well, it's very interesting, and congratulations on achieving all that. I've actually been sober for coming up on 8 years, since September 11th, 2015.
Wow,
Love
congrats,
that.
State
dude.
treatment center, and
Yeah.
prior to real estate, I was working in the treatment field as well.
Yeah.
Ultimately, I decided that it wasn't what I wanted to do for work.
Right.
But I love volunteering and helping people, and still do that. And so congratulations on that. A lot of people don't realize how tough it is, because it's very rewarding when helping somebody in that situation who does, turn their life around. But a lot of people don't make it. And,
Yep.
a
I
lot of
mean,
people.
most,
Yeah.
yeah, like the odds are stacked against a lot of people.
100%.
So yeah,
100%.
yeah.
Well, we have that in common, don't we? That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, cool. I just wanted to dive into learning a little bit more about you guys personally. And
Yeah.
so how'd you guys meet?
That's
Funny
an
story.
interesting story. So that goes back, it takes me back a little ways, you know what I mean? So growing up, I also dabbled. I wouldn't even say dabbled. I was a party kid,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
For a lot of years. And it got really bad for me. I was dealing drugs, doing all of this stuff, right? And I ended up getting in trouble with the law. And I was in and out of jail. And I found myself sitting in front of a judge. I don't know if this happened to you, because you just shared your side, but we'll get right into it.
Yeah.
I was sitting in front of judge, and he said, Kamohai, I'm going to give you your open 10-year sentence, or you can go to a treatment center. And I was like, I am not going to prison for 10 years.
Yeah.
I will take the treatment center. But the treatment center was a 2.5-year residential long-term treatment center,
Mhm.
where I ended up meeting my wife,
because my mom was the director
of that said treatment center. So
yeah.
I went to it within the first 5 months. Her mom saw something special in me and asked me to come work in the center.
Mhm.
And so I became an intern for that said treatment center. And I worked my way up to becoming a counselor in the treatment center. I actually started counseling people like me that came out of jail. So
Yeah.
I had a group.
Yeah.
I had a group of 11 guys that I would teach how to become sober.
Yeah.
So
But
that was in 2012.
yeah, so I had been working there for years before he ever got my attention. But then when I went back to, I asked my mom if I could do my internship hours there. She said yes, and she told me, I would go in after class and I would sit at her desk and do whatever she wanted me to do. And his desk was right across from her desk. So we would just stare at each other for like 3 hours, a couple times a week. And so it was inevitable. My mom basically said, you should probably talk to him. He might be a good husband. And sure enough, she was right.
There you go.
Crazy.
Yeah.
That's
So
Yeah.
beautiful.
mom, yeah.
And
Mother knows best.
congratulations to you both. It's all this I don't know if this is the same for you guys, but just through my personal experience and everything, like all the real estate stuff that we own and all this that we got going on, like it's all good and we can help a lot of people and it does a lot of things for us and for other people as well. But just for me personally, spiritually and internally, there is no better feeling than helping other people and having the opportunity to turn my life around and do the same and be an inspiration for others. So that's really cool.
Yeah. Dude,
I
totally.
1000% agree with you. And I think the coolest thing about real estate is that, like what Tristyn was talking about earlier, it is a place where you can combine those two things, right? Like we are helping a ton of people. We're direct to seller, so we're solving problems. We're helping a lot of people. And at the same time, we're building something crazy special for our family. The other whole side to this is like a lot of the skills that I learned as a counselor have translated into the real estate side, the sales
100%.
side, the marketing side, so much more than I ever could have thought that they would. And I always tell Tris, I think we hit the jackpot with real estate because we're able to combine those two passions. You know what I mean?
Right.
The other whole side to it is real estate lets you give back even more.
Right.
You know what I mean? Now we have resources, we have tools, we have relationships, we have monetary, like money, like now we can help so many more people. So I think we're just at the very beginning of exploring more of pouring back into the nonprofit, like Tristyn said. But yeah, it's exciting, man.
Yeah.
Well, cool. All right, let's dive into the real estate. If all of our real estate viewers are like, we haven't even talked about real estate.
The point.
What are you guys talking about?
No, but it's a beautiful story and it's a huge part of who I am. And so I did not expect to come here and talk about that with you guys today. But
I mean, it makes us who we are. You know what I mean? What you've been through creates the character that allows you to be present and who you are and build today. You know what I mean? So.
Well, I think it's that too, paired with a lot of that going through what I went through and what Tris went through is some of the very reasons why we're so successful with what we do today.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like we talk about why, like, dude, any day is so much better for me than sitting in front of the judge that day looking at going to prison for 10 years. You know what I mean? Like it's perspective, and I think that those struggles have got us to where we are and help us excel at what we're doing.
Yeah. I mean, it's beautiful, like any problem that we might experience today in the real estate world, such as a contractor, a title issue, or what lender, or whatever it is, it's nothing compared to what we went through back in the day. I mean, just
100%.
Waking up breathing, it's hard to have a bad day with being grateful to be alive and having that perspective.
100%. 100%. So real estate, how'd that
tell
happen?
me about this conference. So you guys you got dragged to the conference. So tell me about what y'all learned at this conference and kind of what happened after that.
Yeah, so it was a Fortune Builders conference. I don't know if you've heard of that education company. Yeah, out of I think Southern California. And it was a typical 2-hour thing to a half-day thing to a 3-day thing. And they were talking about how you can fix and flip property with none of your own money. The emphasis was very much on fix and flip. And it wasn't until I was sold. I was in like a place of desperation because we were in debt. We had young children, and I was like, we need something. Like, we are struggling to survive. And there was no way in hell I was leaving the place that I love. Being born and raised here, I can't imagine living anywhere else. Um, and I was like literally ready to swipe all of our credit cards and do whatever it took. And he is the more like, we were very opposite in that sense. It's funny because we've shifted roles now where he's like balls to the wall and I'm like, okay, wait, let's chill. Like, let's think about this. Um, but he was like, this can't be real. Like, let's think about this. Let's really process this because we're already in debt. We can't get further into debt.
I mean, they were asking us to increase credit card
Yeah, it was
limits,
wild.
like we're talking about 50 grand, you know what I mean? And
To
Oh,
join
yeah.
the program
to
or
join
what?
the
Yeah,
program.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Like sell us on the program,
But I think it wasn't until we saw one local person get up on stage who had already been through the program. And it's crazy because we're friends with him now. And he was saying how he is working. He's born and raised in Hawaii and he is doing this. And the program taught him how to do it. And I think that was when your wheels started turning on like, there has to be something here because there's somebody that looks like us, talks like us, is from here, that is saying that it's possible. But we did not leave that conference signed up for
I
mentorship.
refused to do anything there at that conference, but in my head something changed. Like
Mhm.
I really, because I went kicking and screaming. I just thought it was scammy. You know, there's no way, our price points are so high here. How do you buy houses with none of your own money? But like she said, I saw that guy from Hawaii that looked exactly like me, that had 7 projects going on. I still remember what he said.
Yeah.
And I was like, maybe there is a small chance. So I wanted to delve into it. I wanted to dive into it, but I didn't want to spend that money right there. So we go home. I don't tell Tris
No, he
anything.
doesn't tell me anything. I'm like researching how to like, I'm like talking to my mom, like, Mom, can you send me money? Like, I'm going back to school.
Yeah. And I reach out to fortune builders and I negotiate a package that I feel comfortable with. So it wasn't anything they were offering us, but all of a sudden I turn them down and I go back and they're like, okay, we can give you 6 months of education for like 8 grand or something.
Yeah, it was like 8, 10, something like
Yeah.
that. And I was
So
like,
a big jump from 50. I was like, okay, I can do that.
Yeah.
Let's
Yeah.
go.
yeah. And so we just started immersing ourselves. We did get a little caught in the analysis paralysis. You know, we didn't do anything for the first year, I want to say. But then we hit the ground running. We literally just blindly followed what the curriculum told us to do. And I think there's power in that. And I think a lot of people get stuck in like, I need to know everything in order to take action. We did the opposite. We literally watched the first module, took that action, and then figured out what had to happen next. I reached out to one of my family friends who was a realtor, and we sat her down, we took her to lunch, and we're like, hey, we want to flip houses. And she kind of looked at us like, are you crazy? But we were family friends, so she was willing to help. And you know, they make us create this whole credibility packet. I did it to a T. I gave it to her. I said, this is exactly what we're looking for. We were only making offers off the MLS, and we were looking for distressed properties, contractor repair, needs major repair, all that stuff. And she just started sending them to us. And we would both be analyzing the deal. Like, did you get the same numbers as me? We would go out and look out at all these properties back to back to back to back. And we were just making offers. And then one day, I think we had set up like 10 properties, like starting at 8 in the morning to like 6 at night. They were all over the island, and we went and walked all of them with this realtor. And the last one we got was in the dark. The last one we saw was in the dark. Didn't really know what we were looking at. We put the offer in, and that's the one we ended up getting. It was the one
All
we
right.
couldn't even
Yep.
see.
Our
First
first
deal.
deal.
First
First
deal.
deal.
When was that?
2018, 2019.
I don't
All right.
remember.
2019. No, I think it was so we went to the conference in 2018.
Yeah.
But it took us 9 months before we got our first deal. So I think it was in 2019.
Yeah,
it was in
like
2019
because
was
we
our
didn't do
first deal.
anything in 2018, and then we started in 2019. Got our first deal. And that first deal was a freaking master's degree in flipping. Like everything went wrong. It was
Yeah.
so rough, dude.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, we were very like go for it and figure it out. So like we didn't even know that we had interest only payment to our hard money lender. I found that out at the closing, the night that we signed closing docs. I was going through all of my loan docs and I realized that I needed to make a payment
For like $5,000 a
for
month.
$5,000 a month. I thought I was just going to be able to pay everything out at the end when I finished the project. That's how naive we were.
Yeah.
And yeah, we underestimated rehab. We picked the wrong contractor. We went
Way over
probably
budget, way over time.
double over timeline. Yeah. So everything that could have went wrong. We got in trouble with the city for permits. All the things that could have went wrong.
And then
went
we
wrong.
go to list it and COVID hits and our entire state shuts down. So we sat on the market for months and then had to sell way below asking or way below our sales price. So, I mean, it was a wild ride, but we always say we would not have traded it for anything because if we got our first deal, made 6 figures, we would have had a very false reality of what flipping is.
Mhm.
And
Well, I always think that we would have learned those lessons. And I think sometimes if you get this, like, okay, I got this, I know how to do it. And that lesson that you learn could potentially take you out of the business, especially in the beginning. You know what I mean? And we're talking about $1 million price points here in Hawaii, where when you're doing a price reduction on a house, it's not a 5-10 grand price reduction. We're at price points where you have to lower the price by $100,000. And that's a lot more than most people's profits normally. You know what I mean? So
Did
it's scary.
y'all lose money on the first one?
Thank God in heaven, no. We only like made, I think, or no, we did lose.
We lost $15,000.
But thank God in heaven it was only 15,000.
Yeah.
But we were so gung ho and committed to real estate that in the middle of that first deal and everything that was going wrong, we went and bought a second deal.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think the key for the first one and what people should really take out of it, like learning all of those lessons is okay. Obviously, like you want to mitigate risk as much as you can as a real estate investor. But we bought the deal right. So our underwriting, how we underwrote the deal and analyzed the deal, we bought it for a price where we did everything wrong and went way over timeline, but we still only lost 15 grand.
Yeah.
Hey, look at it like this. I mean, that $15,000 flip education you got was cheaper than the 50 at Fortune Builders, and you probably learned a
100%.
lot more.
Dude, facts right there. That's perspective in a nutshell. But yeah, no, for sure. And then the rest was history. We just kept doing that. I think we did a couple more deals the same way. Didn't lose money. But then we found another mentorship because we were missing something. Like I was like, this can't be real estate. Like where you lose 15 grand or you only make 20, like we're missing something here.
And I think we've always been firm believers in education. Like obviously from the beginning, that's how we got started. But when we started too, we were still in a market where you could find deals on the MLS. After our first like 2 or 3 deals, it was getting way harder. The competition, it was like COVID time, you know what happened during that time. And then we're in Hawaii where it's even more competitive. And so we were struggling to find good deals on the MLS. And so we go back to what we know. We need to get more educated, right? Yeah. We're missing something. And so we found another mentorship and joined that mentorship. And that really changed our perspective on what real estate was. We realized that we had a sales and marketing company that real estate was a byproduct of. And we really needed to build out that sales and marketing side. And we went direct to seller. And we built that side out. The very next deal, we did 17 deals. So we did 3. Wow. The very next year, we did 17 deals, and all but one of them were off market, direct to seller.
So y'all flipped 17 the next year?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, y'all did go all in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we
Yeah.
we burned the every like the ships, like everything. We literally were like, there's no other option here for us. We have to go all in.
Yeah, well, that's very cool. And so that was in like 2021 y'all did that?
I think it was 2020.
2020, 2021.
Yeah,
From
like
2020 to 2021.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yep.
then we've been doing 25 to 30 cents.
Right.
Is it just you two, or y'all have a good little team that helps out with the sales and the marketing and overseeing contractors?
Yeah. So over time, we've built out, you know what I mean, a team. When we started, it was just us two, but
Mhm.
now I have a marketing branch that is, VAs, in-house lead manager, acquisition manager. I still work and manage that side of the business.
Mhm.
And then we have her side of the business where we have some admin people, a project manager who is also my brother-in-law, her brother, that manages full time. That's all he does. He just manages all of our projects.
Yeah.
And then a bunch of construction crews. We work with 3 or 4
Mhm.
construction crews. Like currently, we're working on 12 houses, active houses right
Mhm.
now. And so we can only have our crews on a certain amount of houses before they start dropping the ball.
Right.
I'm sure
Yeah.
you know
Yeah.
how
Yeah.
that works, but
But we're the little engine that could. I think we were never interested in having this huge team per se. We're more about quality than quantity, and then it's the same with our deal flow because our margins here are a lot larger. Our price points are a lot larger, so we have no interest in doing like 50 to 100 deals a year. I literally have no interest in that. Like 25 to 30 is way enough for me.
Yeah, and that's a lot.
That's a
I mean,
yeah,
that's a
lot.
yeah,
lot
That's a
of
yeah.
lot.
deals.
Dude, that's a
It's
lot.
that, and then so just to give some perspective, our median home price here in Hawaii is about $1.1 million, right? So our sweet spot is we're buying between 900 and a million, selling between 1.8 and 2 million.
Yeah.
Our average renovation cost is between 250 and $300,000.
Yeah.
So we're doing full gut, like
Mhm.
from the ground up, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Touching every inch of the house renovations.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a lot of work. And
Yep.
it's I mean, they're good margins there, but it's the numbers are high that if one or two things go wrong, it costs a
Exactly.
lot.
Exactly.
I mean, the
Exactly.
holding
Yep.
costs and closing costs on that is, eats up a good chunk, I'm sure.
Yep.
Tremendous.
Yep.
Yep.
Exactly. You know.
So you guys, so y'all have at least done, I don't know, 80 plus houses y'all flipped.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool. And
Yeah.
then only on your local island, correct?
Yeah. So we only fix and flip here on Oahu. We've
We have
tried.
dabbled in other places,
I
but
don't like it.
quickly came back to
Yeah.
Oahu. I think one of the things that we realized is that if we're gonna, like, we have such a good thing here
Mhm.
and our team here and our systems here that we're not going to get the kind of return that we would anywhere else, for the effort that we would have to put out.
Mhm.
So it
Right.
makes sense to be really focused here,
Right.
and do it here. We've done a flip in Texas. We've done a bunch of burrs in Florida.
Mhm.
But our fix and flip business is here, and then we buy rentals in other places. So we buy rentals on Big Island. We
Mhm.
have a bunch of rentals there, and then also in Florida.
Got it. How many rentals do you guys have?
30.
37 doors.
That's great.
Yeah, yeah. And
Congratulations.
the majority of those are
Creative.
well, creative and then short term. So we focus on short term rentals. We have, I think we have nine short term rentals on Oahu and Big Island.
Mhm.
And then
5 in Florida.
yeah, 5 in Florida. Then the other rest are all
Those are
long term.
Long-term. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What is the future hold for you guys? What's the big dream? What's the plan?
I think the goalpost always moves. I think that's the entrepreneur's curse, to be
Yeah.
honest with you. For me, it's as long as whatever we're doing, it just has to fit into what is important to us. I think our children are at such a young, formative time and age in their life right now. So I want to make sure that whatever we're doing, and we're the busiest we've ever been, ever. And we're only going to get busier, but everything revolves around them and their schedule. So
Mhm.
as long as, um, whatever opportunity it is, it doesn't conflict with that. And whoever we're doing business with matches our morals and our values and has that same perspective on life, then the answer is yes. We were doing a podcast with Templeton Walker, and something that stuck with both of us so much was the dirty yes. When you say yes to opportunities, when you really should have said no, and you did it out of obligation or you did it because you felt like you should, but ultimately it really wasn't something that was aligned and meant for you. So we're really trying to not give out dirty yeses.
Well, I think as you grow too, your filter has to get even thicker and thicker and more intense and more intense. And you learn how to say no a lot more than you learn how to say yes. In the beginning, we're like yes to everything. We just want, like,
Right.
we need to do everything, but
Yeah.
as you grow, that obviously changes. But I think in the future for us, it's everything surrounding purpose and impact.
Yeah.
We want more purpose. We want more impact. And I think one of the things is growing some of the other things we're doing. We do a monthly meetup, our podcast here. We want to reach more local people. We want to also educate. So education's definitely in the future for us. And I think it's more geared towards, again, local people, and helping people realize that priced out of paradise does not have to be a thing, right? You can take control, and there's things that you can do to make sure that you can stay here in Hawaii and also thrive in Hawaii. And yeah, I mean, there's a couple things that we can't talk about that we're doing, but we'll be able to soon.
But fix and flip will always be there. I don't think we're trying to grow that. I think we're just trying to hone in on any weak points and strengthen them.
Mhm.
I think we're still pretty new in this industry and in this game of real estate. So just getting better every day. Rentals will always be something there. And it's the same for rentals. It's not quantity, it's quality of the deals and cash flow. I would rather have 50 doors and be cash flowing an immense amount versus 1,000 doors and we're cash flowing the same. You know what I mean? So I'm really more
Yeah.
interested in quality of a deal versus quantity. Um,
We are looking into like bigger deals as well, right?
yeah.
Like small, the thing is like we're not looking to do like huge syndications and get involved with a ton of partners on 300 400 plus units.
Yeah, not right
we're
now.
we're looking for more like 100 and below that we could potentially have one partner on, be in full control of, maybe purchase creatively, and so increasing the deal size, but not like only to a certain extent. Right now, that's kind of where we're at.
Very cool. I love
Yeah.
it. And so it's more, obviously you want to continue to grow and the family and purpose, and kind of designing it around there. I mean, trust me, I get it with the goalpost always moving. If you ask me and
Always.
Matt what our goal is, every month of the year, you're going to
It'll
hear
be
12
different.
different answers.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Talk
Uh,
to us in 2 months. It'll be different, you know?
yeah. Can y'all tell me about this pricing out of paradise? That seems like maybe a saying or something you hear a lot. And you got to understand is I've never been to I'm gonna try and pronounce it like you. I've never been to Hawaii. How do you say it?
Yeah.
Hawaii.
Hawaii.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. That
Hawaii.
was pretty
Could you
good.
say it? You
Hawaii.
say it slightly different than most people say it.
Yeah.
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 But
Yeah.
I've never
I hear everyone from Hawaii, they that's not from here, they tell us that we have an accent.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
well, I've never been there, and I can imagine that, obviously prices there haven't been a million plus for forever, and maybe, just like your family who's been here for generations and generations, probably feel that to some extent. And I'm sure that there's some sort of, for lack of a better word, maybe resentment, maybe to a lot of development and stuff coming up.
Yep.
And so I'm curious, kind of, if you don't mind just kind of talking about that, the local culture there regarding, how much it's blown up and everything going
Mhm.
that way.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, this is like probably one of the most common talked about things about among local people. And I think for us, being Hawaiian and being here, and sharing the same morals and values and culture that we've all been raised with, we have a very, very unique relationship with land in Hawaii, um, and a very unique relationship with the United States, right? Because the United States came in and overthrew our government. And prior to that, there was no land ownership in Hawaiian culture.
Yeah.
We had ahu pua'as and everybody shared everything. There was chiefs. And so there's already like this kind of turmoil that has been brewing for a really long time around land and land ownership and land being taken away from Hawaiians, right? And so I think that sets the kind of framework for what we have to deal with today, because most people in Hawaii hear fix and flipper or an investor, and they automatically assume that we're an outside entity that doesn't respect the way that Hawaii doesn't respect the culture, is stealing from the Hawaiian people,
Taking land away, just
taking land away,
perpetuating
right?
colonization, pretty much.
Raising prices,
Mhm.
pricing people out of paradise, like we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, when we got into real estate, we were fully aware of all of this stuff, right? And I think now it has been our kuleana or responsibility to really change that narrative, and that's what we are doing as we speak, and that's what the education is also gonna be. But most people in Hawaii have this idea that they're priced out of paradise.
It's
Like,
too
it's
expensive
too
to live
expensive,
here.
right? It's too expensive for people to live here. They have to get out of here and move to the mainland just to survive. And the thing is Hawaii is a very small island. We're not growing any more land except for on the Big Island. And so, and that paired with the fact that everybody wants to be on Oahu,
Mhm.
it creates a very interesting market, right?
Yeah.
And so all of those things kind of combined are the whole priced out of paradise thing. But like I said, it's really been our mission to first change the narrative on what an investor is.
Mhm.
And yes, there's going to be bad apples in every industry.
Right.
Like, you can't help that. But how you do business matters, and where and in Hawaii even more so than anywhere else.
Right.
You want to
Yeah.
add something?
No, I think you nailed it. I also think culturally we're a very humble and private community, and it's such a big, complex subject matter to try and tackle, because it goes back to the education system. It goes to what is taught, especially here. Our education system here in Hawaii is one of the worst in the nation.
Public schools.
Yeah,
Yeah.
public schools. And it's just the narrative that local people are taught. They're taught, and not even local people, just in general. You're taught to go to school, get a degree, go get a good job, and then work that job until you die, almost die, or can retire, and then live
Right.
off of a federally backed retirement system or program,
Right.
whatever that looks like. And so we're huge proponents in, we can't change the system right now. You can do little things to hopefully perpetuate massive change, but
In the long
in
term.
the long term, but what can we do right now within the system that currently exists to help local people not get priced out of paradise, but to actually thrive here? That you can buy your land back. and local people can own property here. And it's strictly just based off of knowledge and information. You
Yeah.
act based off of the knowledge and information that you have. So if we can help share the knowledge and information that has changed our life, local people born and raised here that were struggling and are now able to have our own home, thrive here in Hawaii, and provide a lifestyle for our children that we would be tremendously proud of, that any local person would be proud of. Why would we not share that? So I think
Yeah.
that's really the goal.
No, that's beautiful. And I'm sure it's very local to Oahu and
Mm.
Hawaii.
Yeah.
Like, but it's everywhere. I mean,
Yeah.
everywhere
Yep.
in the United States, like but it's beautiful. And like y'all's story and our story. I mean, myself, 8 years ago, I was in and out of county jail and was just a heroin addict, right?
Right.
Yep.
And you don't have to come from a trust fund. You don't have to come from a bunch of money. You don't have to have all these things that I think is a big misconception on how you become successful in real estate.
Yeah.
And just like you guys, all you need for everybody listening and all y'all's viewers is just hard work, work ethic, and a little bit of creativity, right? And
Yeah.
it
Yep.
starts with that knowledge. And so, that's why we do it as well. Is I mean, as I'm sure you guys know, producing these podcasts and social media and videos and reels and all these things is a ton
Yeah.
of work.
Yeah.
Tons.
And the whole purpose is just to get this message out there and hopefully, inspire some people to go build this for themselves.
Exactly.
Yep.
100%.
Yeah, 100%. That's literally where Deals and Aloha was born. I mean,
Mhm.
I see you guys pumping out so much content and helping so many people, and a lot of free stuff, you know what I mean? And in hopes, like you said, that there's a little Kamohai somewhere
Yeah.
in this world that's going through the exact same thing. And I take myself back to that situation and how hopeless I was, and
Mhm.
how I could have never imagined that I'd be sitting here today in this studio talking to you about freaking real estate. Like
Yeah.
that, like I want that person to see this and be like, oh my gosh, he's like me. He looks like me. He went through the same thing that I did. Sky is the freaking limit. Like,
Yeah.
let's go. You know what I
100%.
mean?
Yep.
100%.
And similar to kind of like the substance abuse and helping people who are struggling in those situations, I just kind of made this connection. I mean, when you find that, little Alex out there somewhere who did hear the message and they do actually take the advice, they do take the action, they do put in the work, and they do see the success, it's almost like that same, internal feeling of, all right, we helped somebody. Because just like in
100%.
substance abuse, I mean, not everybody listens or takes the action, or everybody's going through different things, but when that one person does get it and change their life and help other people, it's just the most beautiful thing in the world.
Yeah.
Totally.
Exactly.
Totally.
There's
Yeah.
nothing more beautiful than seeing people thrive in their life and live up to their potential and achieve things that they thought that they couldn't, and actually have like a connection to self where they value themselves and all of that beautiful stuff. And I think that's where entrepreneurship honestly goes wrong a lot of the times, because hustle culture is what is taught and preached, especially on social media. And I did a Mother's Day presentation. What was it?
It was a,
It was
yeah.
like it was a little event where I talked about this, on how a lot of entrepreneurs um try to heal their way by achieving. And we try to just, if I achieve, or if I achieve that next thing, move the goalpost and I check that off, then my problems will disappear. But in reality, that's not what happens at all. And I think that's why I'm really passionate about it. I think coming from that behavioral health space, I'm aware that we as human beings are walking around, especially entrepreneurs, because it's just innate in us that we have to achieve, but we have the biggest problems. We have the biggest issues within self that we need to heal from and recover from and learn from. And so when we do our education, I think one of the modules is going to be how to heal your way to success. The first one, I think people are going to kind of be shocked, because the first module you're going to get is all about connecting to self, not necessarily mindset, but more emotion set, because they have to go hand in hand together. Because I want healthier entrepreneurs walking around, not burnt out on the edge of like devastation.
Not burned out on the edge,
Yeah.
rich people. Like there's a lot of people that I know like that have a ton of money but are not happy.
Right.
They're
Yeah.
miserable.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so that I don't think is talked about enough.
Enough,
Tris
yeah.
is really, you know what I mean, led the charge on that in our business. But like it's okay to have a performance coach or a therapist, or like I would say that you definitely need, you know what I mean? And everybody can benefit from that. But building your business around your connected life,
Right.
not
Yeah.
not building your business at all costs. You know what I mean? So-
Right.
Yeah.
There's strength. There's a lot of strength inside of it, and a lot of courage inside of that personal work. And I think that it's viewed as a weakness too,
Exactly.
do those things. But for those who do, it's really a strength.
Yeah.
100%.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
Well, do y'all mind kind of giving us an update on the fires in Hawaii, and
Mhm.
if you know of any local resources or anybody listening, how they could potentially help out if they want to?
yeah, man, let me pull
Yeah.
up my phone.
Yeah, you can pull them all up. So
But so the Maui fires have caused a lot of devastation in West Maui, Lahaina, Kula, and some other offshoots of West Maui. The local community there is saying that they weren't given a lot of warning. Sirens didn't necessarily go off. And so a lot of lives have been lost. The body count is still rising. But the local community there has really come together and shown exactly what Hawaiian culture is all about, community. And they've come together and they're helping each other. A lot of electricity is only being restored now in certain areas, but the water is unsafe to drink. And so people really they have lost everything. Hundreds of businesses and homes, cars have all been eaten up by the
totally
fire.
total communities burnt to the ground.
Yes.
Like it's very, very
It's
bad.
again the worst that US history has seen as far as fire devastation and loss of life. And so you can donate to Hawaii Community Foundation. They are a 501c3 nonprofit, and they are very transparent with where their money is going. You can donate directly to the families. There's an Instagram page. I don't know, I can share it with you and then you can put it in the show notes or something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
You can donate goods. A lot of clothes have already been received, and clothes really isn't what's necessary at this time. It's gas, it's water, it's propane, it's things if you would think if you have no electricity and you've lost everything, you're camping at this point. So what would you need to survive? It's really things that people need to survive. And then I think it's just advocacy for the local community on how we can make sure that resources are going to where the people actually need them that lost, and not government interests and not big business interests. If you are an investor, if you're listening to this podcast, please don't market to West Maui right now. These people are healing, not even able to heal yet. I take that back. They are hurting. They are devastated. So they're in no position to make a deal to sell their land. So I think it's just having respect and empathy for that community, but advocacy that, if I've had a few like brainstorming just with him on like what we can do. I think it's just at the very, very beginning of a super, super long process on trying to get these people back into their land that they've lost.
That's the thing, right? Like there's a lot of things that have to happen, but there's immediate needs and resources that need to go to people right now in the short term. And I think that we have those links that we'll put in here are good, vetted, trusted places where if you donate to these people, the resources are going to go to the right place. But then this is the very beginning. Like there's going to be a long rebuilding process. And I don't necessarily think that we're there yet, because they're still trying to grieve, right? And figure out 100% what's going on. I think what Tris and I are also looking at now is how can we be resources for that rebuilding process,
Yeah.
right? And so they're like I said, this is just the beginning, but we're going to, and we're brainstorming, figuring out with a lot of other local investors, right? Like how we can do that and
Yeah.
help with the rebuilding process.
Yeah. So, and then, I mean, obviously, like if there's attorneys and stuff that are offering free services and legal support for these victims that have lost everything, um, it's really just going to be how can we support the community that's lost everything and help them rebuild, that's in the best interest of the people that
Yeah.
lost everything. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'll send you all of the resources. Uh
And
anything.
Hawaii Community Foundation as well.
Yes,
Yep.
I'll send you the link to Hawaii Community Foundation. I'll send you all the resources that I have. I'll send you a most recent donation list. It's changing frequently as needs change, but it's mostly if you lost everything in your camping, what would you need to survive?
I think it's that. And then also, if anybody is listening to this podcast and feels called to like be more involved or
Reach
to
out.
help or whatever it is, please reach out to us, because like I said, we're going to be doing this for a long time, right?
Yeah.
Like this is just the beginning, and we can help involve other people in what the plans are looking long term.
Yeah.
So please reach out to us. We can talk story and figure out how your help would best be used.
Good. Well, that leads me to my next question is how can people find you guys on social media or website, or how can people contact you?
I think the best way is through social media. We're at Kamohai and Tristyn on all social media platforms. We are TK Property Solutions on Facebook. So yeah, just reach out, send us a DM, follow. We're here. We're
DM on Instagram is normally the best. Like
Yeah.
we still go through all of those and respond to all those. So
it's truly us behind our Instagram. We
Yeah.
have no VA monitoring that. That's why content comes out when it comes out, because it's just me and him.
yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
good. Well, thank you guys so much for joining today. Y'all have such a beautiful story. I'm glad that we're able to not only connect on real estate, but also, where we come from, and get us those links. We're going to put them in the podcast. This will
will.
probably come out in a couple of weeks, and
Okay.
we'll do whatever we can to help the, local people there. And,
Yeah.
thank you
Love
guys
that.
so much.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, right on.
Thank
man.
you so much for having us. I'm
I
glad we could connect on this level, because
I feel like, it's been a long time coming. Like
Yeah.
we followed you for just as long.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It feels like it's been a few years,
It
couple
has,
years.
it has.
And so it's been cool to see your guys' journey and what you guys are doing. So this was fun,
Yeah.
super fun.
We got to have you
Yeah.
on our Deals and Aloha podcast.
I'd love to. Just let me know when.
Okay.
Nice.
Cool.
Right on, man.
All right.
Okay.
Y'all have a good rest of your day. Thank you.
Yep.
Bye.